Welcome back to the channel, guys. We're going to continue working on this SRT-4. Let's go ahead and get it up on jack stands, get underneath it, and get this rear end off so we can finish the suspension.
City lights flicker where the sinners play preacher. Graffiti scriptures on train cars, a steel messenger. Cobblestone pathways, souls caught in a shuffle. Every breath's a gamble, life's one long scuffle. Sirens kiss the night.
All right, we got the exhaust off. I'm gonna crawl under here, show you guys what all we did. So we're taking this whole rear brace out. It's all flash rusted, and the bushings, except for a few, are completely blown out, and the e-brake is done, and it's just all rusty. So when you take this off, before you take the 4 main bolts out and then undo the bushings, actually we'll undo those bushings and then we'll take the 4 main bolts out, put a brace on this. I got a transmission mount or transmission lift. We'll just put it underneath here, take the bolts out, and then drop it down. But you got to take off the brake lines, take out the e-brake. I thought the cable was roasted, but it was actually the brakes themselves were completely roasted. I mean, this is the dust shroud, but those are the drums. You can see there's like no pad left on those at all. This one's gone completely. It was like paper thin, which is a good sign because that means I don't have to replace the cable. I just have to, when I put the other one in, the pads, I'll have to check the pads, and that'll be a good opportunity to change the pads. Then you got to get in here and get the wheel speed sensor out of there. Once you have the wheel speed sensor out and the brake line's disconnected, you should be able to just take these little tabs off, free the line up, and that side's done. Well, I pulled it off and just tucked it up there by the strut. But yeah, you don't have to mess with any of this other suspension. It all comes off in one piece. So aside from that, we'll just keep on and we'll get this rotor and e-brake out. Just to put it in perspective of why I'm doing this, that's the brakes, and that's how much rust and corrosion is on the rear section of this car. So it needs replaced pretty bad. Thankfully, we have a replacement that's not rusty, and it'll come apart way easier than this. That's why I did this one first. All right, so we have moved on. Yesterday, I didn't get much video because there's a lot of struggling going on and a lot of brace breakup in the rust, as you can see. But we got the e-brake unhooked on both sides. And then I ended up snapping this bolt off on the end right there. And pried on it for the better part of yesterday, until I ran out of PB blaster. Decided I was gonna go get some more, so I went inside to clean up and then walked out and rolled my ankle off of that step. So it was roughly the size of a freaking softball yesterday. So I had to call it quits, but as you can see, I got it strapped up and we're kind of mobile today. It's a lot better than it was yesterday. I mean, it was hilarious. Rolled my ankle out the door off of that step. I guess I stepped on the side of those two mats and rolled it right there and fell over top of this into the freaking driveway right here and thought I was gonna throw up. So that wasted about 8 hours yesterday, all morning today, and I'm just now to the point to where I'm able to kind of squat down without any pain. So, but that took me back to this. So I went and got some more penetrant and then cut around it, because you can see right here, that's where the bolt hole went through right there, and the bolt was literally pulling through this subframe. It's so rusted. And whenever I went to take it off, it snapped. You can see how thin that bolt is right there. It's all supposed to be the same width as up here. And I feel like somebody welded this at some point, because it's all fucked up. And then it got down to pretty much nothing right there. So the corrosion was real on this thing. Now that it's free, I'll take my safety bolt out right there, and then I should be able to drop this whole thing. We got the brake lines and the sensors and the e-brakes disconnected, so I should be able to get this thing completely out. I just gotta take this bolt out and drop the trans mount down, and it should just fall forward because there's nothing supporting it on the front. And then I'll have this out and I can do some cleanup. We got to try to finesse and finagle this thing into the roller, just so the roller can sit on all four wheels. So that might be a bit of a challenge, but at least we'll have 3 out of 4 bolts. It's not like it's ever going to be driven again. It just needs to roll onto a trailer to get to the junkyard. So let's get this rusty piece of shit out of here, and we will continue on by disassembling the one off of the red car. All right, we got that out, cleaned up a little bit, cleaned up all the rust. So this is the one that came out. Looks like it's been underwater for the past 15 years, except for these must have been replaced at some point, probably when he tried to get in alignment. And then got this one out pretty easily. Definitely looks a lot better. We're gonna pressure wash this, and then I'm going to hit it with some rust proofing. Ran out. Gotta go get more. We got that in there. Once it's in there, I'll come back in with another can and hit it from this direction so I can seal the inside of those two. But that was a rust proofing that was sprayable on flash rust. There wasn't that much on here. There is a little bit on the bottom that I'm gonna have to scrape off, and then I'll hit it with that, but that should seal it up pretty good. overall, I think it looks great. I replaced the spark plugs on this car because the first thing I checked with the misfire was the throttle body. I reset that, didn't work. And then I replaced the spark plugs. I decided to check them. This is a brand new engine, and the assholes that rebuilt it put the original, these are the spark plugs in it whenever it blew up. They don't look too bad from the top, but all those are pretty frizzle fried if you ask me. The tips are still on some of them, but I guess they're not terrible, but that could be, that one could be, this one could be a reason. I mean, I just replaced all of them. They didn't look very good, and for a car built like this, there shouldn't be worn out old spark plugs, and it looked like those are, since there's only 70 miles on it, I think those are the ones that were in it whenever he got it rebuilt, when it blew up. Unless he ran it a lot before he had it tuned, which that could also do it with the excess fuel or leaning it out. But anyways, we're making some really good progress here. I think I am going to go online and order some new bolts, because most of the bolts that came out of the subframe on both cars are pretty weathered. Here, I'll show you these. Those came out, but they're not something that I'd feel confident putting back in and torquing to spec, so we'll use them to put this subframe back in and order some new ones. All right, we got the other car back together and on the ground. Next step, I guess, I did go online and order some new subframe bolts, which will be here in 2 to 4 days, apparently. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and hang it. I'm just not gonna torque the bolts down tight. They'll just be a little loose. We'll leave it on the stands. We gotta put the exhaust back on anyways when we're done. So let's go ahead. I guess we'll get a light underneath here, and then yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll start the installation of the rust-proofed rear end. Guys, I totally forgot about our bolt. We still got to remove that bitch. Damn it. Okay, well, I guess we're gonna have to work on that. To be totally honest, I don't have the fucking energy to wrestle with that thing. I already freaking beat on myself all morning trying to get it off of there. Well, afternoon, after rolling my freaking ankle. Shit should have been done by now, but this is what they call a snag. So, plug my headgear in here. And I think I'm gonna call it a night and a weekend. So, wife and kids are actually out of town right now, so I'll go to work tomorrow, come back, hopefully a little more energized with a little less ankle pain, and we'll get back to work on it. All right, it is over maybe a week later. Still working on getting this bolt out of this freaking subframe. Got a little time this morning. Wife and kids are gone. Let's get this thing out. Let me show you what I'm still banging on. All right, so the subframe slides in right here, bolts in up there and right there. This bolt snapped off, as you saw earlier, and I twisted on it and it snapped off and got shorter and shorter and shorter till I had to drill it out. When I drilled it out, I drilled it out a little bit crooked. Not sure if you can see that. So there's a portion of the bolt stuck in one side and a hollow shell. I gotta continue to drill it out until the walls are thin enough to where I can pry that bolt out, and then I will take a tap and re-thread it. And I got a new bolt kit from Mopar. It's a new bolt kit for the whole subframe, so we'll use all the new bolts when we put this one back in, put some Loctite on them, and it should be good to go. So I guess the goal for today is to get that fucking bolt out and get it to where I can re-thread it. But it is really frozen in there. So we're gonna clean this up a little bit and then bang on this thing for a minute, and I'll check back with you when I actually have some progress. All right, after a shitload of drilling, $65 in drill bits later, I finally found the tap size that I need, and I was able to get through it enough to get it to start sliding out. Check it out. All right, so we drilled up through it, and then I got a hold of it with some needle nose, and there it is. So this isn't terrible. You can see, get it out here in the light, where the drill bit kind of went a little bit sideways through it, but the good thing is the majority of the threads are still up in there, aside from the side where the drill bit went up through. So I should be able to just run the tap up through there. But for now, the obstruction in the process is taken care of. So now we can move on. All right, guys. A couple minutes after work today, decided to tap that bolt out and use a helicoil. And it's in there pretty good. Definitely over 115 pounds of pressure to get that thing in there. I had to impact it the whole way. I used 2 fix-a-thread helicoils. It's a M12 1.25 thread. And it comes with this stupid little threader, and the tabs didn't want to break off too easy. I got the first one all the way up in there, and then I think it came crooked. Either that or the second one I put in, the threads didn't match up, so it got cross-threaded at the top. So I had to break off the tabs, and then I put it through halfway and broke the tab, and then pulled it back out. And then there was a little gap right here, so I backed it back out with the impact, and then sprayed some PB blaster in there and just inched it up in there. And then when I got to the end, I just hammered on it, just hoping the bolt didn't break, and it sat. But it's pretty much heat welded into that spot. So at least we know it's solid. This one's perfect. Then you put in your shock. Those are 18s. And then the 2 controlling or trailing arm mounts up there, those are 15s. So we'll go ahead and do the other side, and then we got to make a run to the auto parts store to get e-brake kit for this thing. So we'll have new e-brakes on the back, and once we get the e-brake kit assembled, then we'll clean off all the slides and the calipers and reassemble each hub. These were okay, the pads were okay, but the hardware was a little corroded, and you know what? I don't ever want to have to come back in there, so I'm just going to replace the e-brakes. It's like 60 bucks. So let's go ahead and throw this thing back together on this side, torque everything down, and then we can head to the auto parts store. ...2008 Dodge Caliber CSRT-4 has different rear brake drums than most other calibers, the base models. I actually went to AutoZone and got the rear brake pads and the kit, and the kit does not have the same hardware. It's got different springs, upper springs, and lower springs might work. Some of the springs might work. You just got to kind of set them side by side to the ones that you took off. Some of the hardware you can use, some of it you don't need. There's a coil spring in here, and that sits on there. Then you have your padlocks on either side. I don't know if you can see that because I don't have good lighting. That sits in there. That's your adjuster. And then your upper springs crisscross. Don't forget your retainer right there. So the one that comes in the kit is this little horseshoe. That does not work. So you'll have to reuse the one that comes off of your car. Put that on there, and then you can put it together. Put the springs over top of that. Okay, so once you have it in there, you have your retaining spring in there. Your side springs, make sure they have a notch that they sit into. Make sure those are in. Spring goes on the inside, spring goes on the outside. This thing seats up against the pads in the back. And that's it. Your pads are in. All right, we got the wife cleaning her car, but I just wanted to get under here and show you the finished product. So it's all rust proofed. Nice and sealed up. Whenever you take these off, just come back in. Make sure you put your mounts and your speed sensors back in. Got a little bit of wet paint, but for the most part, everything is done. All right, next step, let's put this straight pipe on, and then we'll go pull the rear section out from the side of the house and put that on. All right, we got the wheels back on and the exhaust on. Got a little shit in it from sitting outside for a while. We'll polish that up. Might have to reinforce the hanger. The hanger on this side is a little weak, so, but we'll take a look at it after we drive it for 1 or 2 test rides. Rear end is done, guys. All right, I'm gonna fire it up just to get some flowage going here for a second. Oh, this thing is so tight to get into. Where's my key? Let's see. Sounds so much better with that exhaust. It's just a straight pipe. Hear that cam a lot better with this straight pipe. All right, it's about a week later. Typically these segments go anywhere from a week to 2 weeks. And, you know, it takes me weeks to get these videos uploaded, but it's been about 2 weeks since I've been able to mess with the car. Maybe not 2 weeks. Last weekend I finished up the rear end. And I'm waiting on somebody to bring a car by to do their brakes. It's a friend of the family. So while I'm doing that, I'm gonna put these tail lights in. So it just looks like I got the two side mounts here, and then it pops out these little nubs. Should be pretty straightforward to get these out. All I should need is to pop out those pins. So let's see how easy it really is. We're gonna need flathead and my yellow thing, this thing and a flathead. Well, it is the next day, and I ended up doing the brakes and finding that vehicle needed new struts, so it took a little longer than I thought. So we're back on this. I didn't any more than pop my tail light out and discovered that I have 2 bulbs and 2 holes, and the ones that were sent from Speed Daddy on eBay, which typically their stuff kind of sort of fits, this isn't even close. I mean, I could put it in there because it mounts up the same, but I don't have 3 bulbs. I'm not wiring a new bulb, and the bulbs that I do have don't even fit in the freaking inserts. So we'll be returning those and finding some different ones. So I guess now we'll move on to the front end. I gotta take the front end off and fix the short in the headlight, and then I should be able to get under there and put the skirt on, or the section of skirt that I have. I'm going to try to find something else, like some plastic material, to figure out and fabricate my own skirt for the rest of it, because I only have half. And I did find a brand new one, but guy wants $250, not including shipping, and he's in Texas. So I think he sent me a message saying he would do it for like $350 shipped, which for a freaking piece of plastic underneath, I don't know exactly how important that is. I mean, it's probably, I don't know. We'll have to weigh those options and see how much support I can get with what I have, because the front is pretty low and I think we would want it. So I have to think about that, but I'll show you what I'm working with. So I have this much, which is about half of the piece. So it'll go underneath right here, and then it'll support it. I mean, it's pretty solid, but if that scrapes, it could bust out these. And if I bust out these and break those mounts, then the bumper is pretty much garbage. We'll see how well we can get this reinforced. And then we got to pop out this headlight, fix the short, put it back on, and then figure out something as far as support all the way around. Once we do that, we'll put her back together in the front end, drop it down. Spark plugs seem to have fixed the misfire, but I don't want to jinx it, so we'll just drive it for a little bit today and see how well it does. All right, it is the next day, and as you can see, I've been hard at work. There's shit all over my face. But we have made some strides since the last segment. And we're off the jack stands. Check it out. So we're off the jack stands. I was able to pull off the front bumper, temporarily fix the short. It is not in the wiring, it's in the actual bulb itself. And versus waiting for another week or so for new bulbs, I just taped it up, and it was just a twist in the harness on the bulb side. So twisted it a couple times, put some tape around it, and put it back in. We got a little bit of reinforcement. Front bumper's pretty solid. Got to get the battery tie down. While we had the front bumper off, there is a fuse box right here that gets corroded and throws that check lightning bolt. So I cleaned it all up and put some dielectric grease in there. What else? We got the slotted rotors on there and the brake pads from the other car. Cleaned up the calipers a little bit. Both sides. Got a little flash rust on them, but I'll drive it a couple times and that'll be done. So the brakes should be done, aside from when we go to take that red car to the junkyard, we'll pull off the calipers. Possibly either that, or if they work good, because I greased up the slides and it was a full brake job basically. I cleaned them all up before I put them back on and greased them. So it shouldn't pull in either direction like it was before. And then we may just paint the calipers. I think it'd be easier to paint the calipers again than to pull those off, put them on here, and then bleed the whole system out. So aside from that, we got to put it on a trickle charger because the battery went dead. And while we do that, we'll throw in that head unit, see if we can't get that wired up. What else? Guys, I think that's damn near close to being done. The only thing that we'll have to do after we can get rid of that little lightning bolt issue is the rocker panels. And I may swap out this door because that one's got dents in it, but maybe. We'll see if we can get it running right. We'll take it for a test drive, put some fresh gas in it if it's running right, and then keep moving on the project. All right, so we got the suspension done, e-brakes, exhaust, took it for a drive, still went into limp mode, still not reliable. So the next thing we're going to take a look at is the throttle body. This is a common issue, and it was having this issue ever since Jason wrecked the vehicle. So I'm thinking maybe something happened to the throttle body whenever he got hit, or it just shit out somewhere along the lines right after his rebuild. So let's go ahead and pull the throttle body off the parts shelf and clean it up and get this thing back up in the air and get this on to see if that fixes it.
All right, we had a minor setback. Hopefully it stays a minor setback. Been having kind of an electrical issue. Great. Shit. Fucking speed bump. Looking at my laptop. Oh, you fucking suck.
Alright, I pulled the throttle body off, cleaned it up a little bit, took the Dremel to the casing and the gasket area, or the seal area. Looking pretty clean, not too bad. What I'll do is I'll put some dielectric grease inside that. I also have a replacement clip here that I got that I'm going to have to wire in. I might as well while I'm under there. So I've got, that's an extra part, this thing. Pretty sure this is the same clip as this. This is the stock one. This one's numbered, which is nice. This one is not. I'm not sure if this one will work actually. Oh, it might. Little holes. Little holes. Yeah, that seems pretty. Let's see. Seems pretty relative. Let's see if it'll fit onto this thing. So what I think we're gonna do is just tape off this section, paint that black with some rust proofing, and then we'll throw this onto the car. It's just 4 10mm bolts. So we'll take the intercooler piping off and then take the 10 mils out, pop off the old one, put this one on there, and then see if we can't wire this up because the old clip is cracked on one side. Okay, let's do that. Might help if I don't record in time lapse. Operator issues. Okay, so just so you see what I'm doing, throttle body's right there. There's a 10 there and a 10 there and 2 on the bottom, and then a little black bracket with a 13 right there. Not too bad to get to. Just got to take one of the intercooler pipes off and the elbow off of the throttle body. I was able to get the plug back on without any issues, so unless it continues to be a problem, I'm not going to mess with rewiring that. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this last 10 mil, and then we'll throw the intercooler piping on and see if that helped it. We'll also have to do a retrain as well on the throttle body. All right, we got it in. Intercooler tubing is hooked up, tightened up. Now next we're going to jump in here because I got a fault after I put dielectric grease on this fuse box in here. I got a freaking fan sensor fault. So I'm going to pull these fuses out of here, clean the box up again, put a little bit, not a lot, of dielectric grease on it, and then get the relays from the other car and put them in here. Yeah, see, I think these are busted off of the other one. Let me get one of these out of here. I gotta take the front bumper off again. Okay, we found another issue. This is the fuse box that mounts underneath the front fender. I have looked at this many times whenever I was swapping the engine, because this was all rusty. And I was like, oh, hey, you know, we should probably swap that out. Well, looks like we're going to, and then I'll rust proof the mount areas too, because I went to the other box, as you saw, and these top 2 tabs, this one and this one, are broken off of these relays. One of which is the fan relay, so that's why I'm getting my error. And the other one could very well be the issue with the lightning bolt. So I may have redone the throttle body for no reason, but hey, at least we know the one that's in there works. So we're going to take some brake cleaner and a wire brush and a little pick and try to pick those out. All right, so we were able to get the wires out of the other one with clean clips. The fascia pops off, and you can get a pick down in there and push the pin and it'll slide out. So I replaced this whole section of wires right here, the red jumpers from one. It's little jumpers like this. This is what's coming out, but it's a jumper that goes from one relay to the next, and this is where the one effed up, and then it goes up into the harness. So now I'm gonna cut this back a little bit because I have some extra on the replacement, and we'll get this up about right in here, and then we'll solder it together so that that'll be permanent. And I'll put some shrink wrap on it, solder it, and then slide the shrink wrap over, and then just tape up this section real good. And then we'll hit this with some rust barrier and put in the one from the other car that is a lot nicer looking. We'll probably hit that with rust barrier too after we mount it, before we put the electrical box on it. But ultimately there's an issue with the vehicle riding too low, and then the rub and the fender well opening this whole section up to water and road debris from the tires. So ideally we would want to move this whole section of harness just up inside the engine bay. So we may actually just look in there to see if there's somewhere that we could mount it. The box itself takes up quite a bit of room, so I just don't know how realistic it is to move that whole box up there, unless we do something with the base plate of the license plate or the battery or something. I don't know. We'll have to look in this area. Maybe we might be able to relocate it up into the air box, maybe. So let's see if we can fiddle with that, find a good place for it, and if we can, we'll relocate it. All right, well, it is Uber Electrical Day. I was able to get the jumpers from the other car into this one, replace those wires, and then replace the other one on that side where you can see the Gorilla Glue. The clips broke whenever I pulled these out. Actually, the top two on this one up here and over here snapped because the other ones were so corroded I had to dig out those in order to slide the new ones in. So I hit them with some Gorilla Glue, slid them up in there, and then put some new grease on, some dielectric grease on the relays, all of which are operable, and slid them back in. The box is nice and clean now, no corrosion. And then up here I have my soldering points just for this wire and for this blue wire back here, that blue one. What I did is I twisted them together, I spliced them, twisted them together, slid on some shrink wrap, and then twisted them together, and then soldered over where I twisted them, slid the shrink wrap up over the solder and shrunk it down, and then wrapped it up to this point with the electrical tape, as you can see. Now I'm going to pop out this headlight, and I think we're just going to relocate this box only up inside the engine bay. And then whenever I put the new bracket on right here where I rust proofed, we'll put the bracket on, and then we will hang all of these clips and then wrap all these clips in electrical tape so that they're sealed up. But we'll put a line of dielectric grease around the outside of these plugs so that they're waterproofed as well as taped. So they'll be taped, waterproofed, and put up hung under the thing with zip ties and their clips. And then this one will be relocated inside the car up through there. And there's plenty of play here with the wires, so I should be able to find a good spot to put these, maybe inside the airbox. All right, let's pull this headlight out and then find a good spot, maybe right in there, to put that box, because it'll come up and fold backwards and it may just sit right there. All right, about an hour or two later, and a big mess later, I got it a little cleaned up. We relocated the box up into the fender well up there. Not sure if you can see it, but we tucked it up inside the fender well, and then put some grease around the fittings of those plugs, and then wrapped them in electrical tape. And then I also zip tied all of the wires and harness up snug so it's nice and tight, doesn't bounce around. And then took a salvage piece of the other fender liner and patched the hole that was in this with zip ties and Gorilla Tape, weatherproofed Gorilla Tape. I know it's kind of ghetto, but it basically will just, it acts as a water shield. I did turn the car on and let it run and get up to temperature, and it's not going into limp mode anymore, at least for now. So fingers crossed that it stays like that. I think what we'll do now is clean up our mess and then move on to, I think, I hate to say it, but I think we could put the front bumper back on. Every time I do, something messes up and I got to take it off again. But let's go ahead and put it back on, and then we may be able to actually take it off the stands and test drive it. What else was I going to do? I can't remember what else. See, the box is back in underneath there, right there. All right, another long ass day, but we got the front bumper back on, idled the car. It seems to idle actually a little bit better with more throttle response, so we'll see how it does on the drive. All right, it's Sunday, hotter than hell. Got the car running, haven't driven it yet. It's just too damn hot. I don't have the AC charged yet in the car. I don't even know if it works, so I'm not going to take it out. I did actually take a couple minutes, and I was able to get the airbag unit right there out of the donor car, out of the red car. Not that difficult. It's just right behind just the lower foot where the feet hang out behind the vents. So here, I'll show you on this one. So right down there, you just pull the carpet back, and these two bolts right there, that's one, and there's only one on the other side. And then you just take the two clips out of it and it's out.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome back to the channel. Today, it's been a couple weeks. Went on vacation, chilled out for a little bit. Got another video that I still need to upload and edit and upload, but just taking my time on that for some reason. But today, I want to start this video by, first of all, I posted my channel to the CSRT-4 support page, and I want to thank everybody that subscribed, because then I got a notification. I'm pretty damn close. I only need 200 more subscribers to be able to monetize the channel, which is pretty sweet. I've been doing this for 3 or 4 years, and I was hovering around, I don't know, 200 subscribers, and then it started getting a little traction, but then I was stuck around 670 for a long time, and now we're at like 773. So thanks, guys. Keep sharing it. Definitely suggest everybody to subscribe, and you know, I'll try to work on the editing and get a little bit better about that. And you know, once we get some ground going, maybe I make a few bucks or get some free shit from sponsors to give away. That would be pretty cool. At that point, you know, I might be able to make it a little bit more regular, but for now, it's just in the free time. So anyways, we're going to start today with the airbag box. Now, I did post a short on this. It's kind of a lame short video, but we're going to actually do a detailed video of where this is located, what you have to take out in order to get to it. And for these, it's kind of neat. It's only 3 10 mil bolts and then these little permanent clips that snap in and out. So we'll go ahead and get a little more detailed on that in a video. So let's go ahead and get into the car and pull back the carpet, take off the little vent, and find that box. First thing you want to do, pop your hood. It's already popped. And disconnect the battery. All right, once you have your battery disconnected, you're good to go. So just bop into the car. Maybe get yourself a light if you have to. And we're gonna pull this back. Let me get a light so that you guys can see, and I'll try to set up the tripod somewhere. Or maybe we'll just lean the phone so that you can see in here, and we'll get that carpet back. All right. This thing disconnects here, but let's pull the carpet. Jesus Christ. It's like he had the fucking sunroof stuck open or something. All right, there it is right there. There's 10 mil there, 10 mil there. One bolt, 2 bolts. On the other side, same thing. Not as much bullshit in the way here. Lift that up. Bolts in the back. Three bolts, 1 clip, 2 clips, and your box is out. Now let's go get the other one and we'll put it in. Here's the other one. Let's put this one in. Just like that. There you go. Fuck. Okay, well I didn't record it, but seem to be having a lot of that problem lately. But we got it tucked back in there. You can see that the bolts are down tight. You can just slide them on with your fingers. And then we just put the carpet back in place. Tucks up in there like so. Put your panel back on and then do the other side. You may need to do a relearn on this, but not always, just sometimes. All right, well, I was hopeful, but that didn't work. I still have the airbag light. So do a little research, see if I can't find airbag sensors. And because I've checked the plugs, I swapped the clock spring, I swapped out the immobilizer, I swapped out the airbag module. So it's got to be an airbag sensor somewhere. So we'll find out where those are and see if I forgot to plug something in. All right, at least it didn't take me an hour and a half. It only took 10 minutes. So if you ever need to get your airbag sensor reset and your seatbelt swapped out from a rebuild on a salvage or wrecked vehicle where the airbags went off, pretty simple to get that module out there. Today we're changing a freaking fuel sending unit and pump in 90-degree weather. Let's get to work. All right, so I pulled the unit out of the donor car because I'm getting a gas light on this thing. I'm not sure if I effed up a wire when I did the rear end, but I did have some sputtering yesterday when I was trying to start it. So I'm guessing, maybe, I'm just guessing, since this is so heavily modified, that they put a new fuel pump or a bigger fuel pump in it. So we're gonna pull the one out of this and see if there's a difference. And if there is a difference, then we will have our confirmation. I can't see any markings on that one, but it does look a little bit bigger. Let's pull this one out. It was kind of a bitch because that one's in direct sunlight right there, but I'll show you how you do it. You have to get a T55 bolt and take the mounts out of the front here. So it's a T55 bolt here and over there, and then the inserts just sort of lift out, and then you have this lock ring that you got to bend up a couple of these little retaining tabs right there, and then hit it on one of these notches with a hammer and a screwdriver, and it'll come undone, and then you can lift it out. So, but we got to get the other one out so that I can seal this one back up. Looks like he had about a half tank of gas in there last time he drove it, but it's been sitting in there for years, so no bueno. Let's take these tools in the shady area, and we'll get to work on the one inside. Like that. See if there's any treasures in here. Ooh, I have a crayon. Candy cane, penny, a sweet sword. Let's pull this shit out of here. Ooh, a ticket to Summerfest 2016. That's no good. Making my money back. A nickel. There was a quarter in here somewhere. I seen it. Okay. So, there's no cool treasures in here. Just some receipts. And a shitload of debris. Ooh, a dime. So yeah, I'm just gonna vacuum this out because you don't want any of this shit getting in the tank. So let's vacuum it out, and then we'll pop the driver's side cover off. This one comes off. That, and then you have your rusty ass freaking cover with your fuel sending unit in there. So we'll use the cover from this one. I had a feeling that was rusted out, so we'll use that one. But let's take that off. So to do that, you have little tabs right here on the gas tank that you got to bend up. Hopefully these don't snap off because they're a little rusty. And then unclip your clips, your gas line, and your clip, and then pound it this way, and it'll pop off and come out. But let's we'll vacuum this real quick. Okay, we got them out, This one does appear a little bit more fresh than this one. You can see that it's, I don't know, they both look pretty good. Pumps look to be the same size. I don't see much of a difference, if any at all. I was just getting a check engine light, or a check fuel level light, so I think maybe this sending unit went out. If it didn't, I have no fucking idea, but we're still gonna use this one because it's newer. But all right, let's chuck this one in there. This tab did break off when I took that one out, and since it was so rusty, after I got it out, I went ahead and went around it with the vacuum cleaner again. But that thing's filled to the freaking brim because I thought it was out of gas, so I took it and filled it up, and it is to the brim. So might get a little messy putting the new one in there. All right. Put in there. Didn't fuck anything up. Probably needed to replace that anyways. All right, sweating balls. That was not it. Fucking annoying. So the only thing I can think of is I took the rear end off and I was in a little bit of a hurry to get it back on because it took me so long to get that bolt out on the passenger side. Maybe I forgot to plug in the airbag sensor and the fuel sending unit. I mean, it's getting fuel though, so there's power. It's just, I don't know why it's throwing that light. So we'll just have to keep troubleshooting. One thing that I did do right, the AC works awesome. So after you get it all put together, you just get a couple cans of RC Pro from AutoZone, hook it up, turn your AC on high and charge that until it gets cold. Until it's, I think it's a 20 to 50 PSI range. I put it right at 40. Whew, it's awesome. It feels great right now. All right, keep working. All right, we got some chicken tenders in. I'm gonna microwave a hamburger Got dinner prepped. I got 8 minutes. I'm gonna jack the back end of this car up and see if I forgot to plug some shit in. All right, same car, different day. Today's initiative is to get this dash out, or this instrument cluster out, and put that one in it. It took a bit getting it out of the other car. You literally have to take this whole dash cover off. So just a brief synopsis of what you have to do. There's bolts under a panel here. This pops down. There's bolt here. There's bolts here. You got to take this out. We're going to do that anyways. This thing is cracked right here, so we'll replace it with the one in the other car. Actually, the stereo that I got is going in there to replace this whole cluster, so that has to come out. We're going to do that at the same time that we swap out the bezel when we put it back together. Then you got to take out the screws inside here, the screws over there, pop off that upper panel, and there's screws all along the dash, like 6 of them that you got to take out. And then this whole thing will pop up enough so that you can get the top 2 screws out of this and unplug it and then plug the new one in. So I'll open the other door, disconnect the battery, and we will get to work. Oh, we need the tripod. Where is it? All right, we got the dash swapped out, and I don't want to jinx it, but when I turned the key on after I got it all plugged in to test it, there was no airbag light, and the gas gauge was all the way on full. So all that troubleshooting with the airbag module and the fuel pump for nothing, when all I had to do was commit the work to get that cluster out and put it in here, which I was going to do anyways because those miles are closer to what's on this engine. I mean, the engine's brand new, but those miles were in the car that I took the engine out of, so, and the transmission. It's a cool benefit, but a lot of work for nothing. Anyways, yeah, we're gonna move on to, I guess, putting the head unit in. I'm gonna break that box open and see how involved the wiring diagram or the wiring is. I think it's probably just a harness, plug and play, and I just wire the harness up. I mean, if I'm lucky, it just plugs right into the back. Let's check it out. No, it doesn't. So I got a little bit of wiring to do, but it's got its own bezel, which will be kind of cool. So let's just set this up here for now and see what other treasures I have in this box. Forget that one. All right, empty. All right, this looks like, yeah, this is the bus decoder and the harness for the head unit and steering wheel, maybe, antenna, which is weird because on this one all I have is this and this and then this, which I got to get the hazards out of the other one. Then I have this shit, which this is, looks like a USB to plug in your cell phone charger. Put that down there. Cell phone charger. Instrucciones. Don't typically need those. This is the plug for, oh yeah, for camera, backup camera, and then auxiliary, microphone, subwoofer, shit like that, amp. Okay. Microphone. I'll have to get creative on that. Those are spliced though. What the fuck is that? Oh, maybe it's so we can, yeah, they're cut. You're supposed to put them together after you run the wires, I'm guessing. So that's your video AV plugs, yeah. So power and video. And then this is the power wire that plugs in there. It's gonna take a minute to hook this up. I'll have to run the wires and then show you guys where I ran the wires, because I'm not, it takes forever to set up and make sure we got a good view. Oh, there's GPS, which I don't really care about because I have my cell phone and this has got Apple CarPlay. So we'll wire this up and then test it out, I guess. All right, I'll do that. These are pretty user-friendly. It's just, oh, this is the harness. I don't even have to wire this up. It comes pre-wired. See how they did that? That's awesome. Okay, so this goes into the back of the head unit. And then antenna. All right, we got it hooked up. It looks pretty good. It's not all the way in there, obviously, but I got the phone connected, and this thing's not bad. It's like $125 on eBay, and it's, I mean, it totally integrates with the phone ways. This one's crucial. If I can ever get this car to where it needs to be. Got Spotify. Sweet. All right, this is great. But cool. All right, keep moving. I gotta wire a bunch of shit up, so I'll check back with you as soon as I get it all set up. All right, just a quick update before I stop recording for the day. Got the rear view camera for the stereo wiring started. I used there's a little plastic panel right here that I took off, and there's a rubber grommet that goes outside for the windshield washer. I ran the two RCAs through there, used a little oil, 3-in-1 oil, greased them up, pulled them through that seal, and then I'll tape that off. Then I'll tape that off right there. And that's sealed up, and it goes outside to the camera. Pulled that off, and then went down through there. So this will tuck up, like go right up the glass into that hole when I put the spoiler back on. Broke off one of the mounts, so I had to use some expansion foam so that I could get it mounted straight. So I'll cut this flush, I'll put the bolt in there, and then push this down on and have an imprint where the bolt sits. And then I'll cut that out, set the bolt down in there, and then epoxy it in there. And then that'll be That'll be the side mount. I don't know how strong that's going to be. I may have to pull the one off of that car and then paint it, have a red wing for a little while. But yeah, so you run down through here, and then I fished it through the inside of this to that corrugated seal. Kind of a bitch to get it through there, but I got it through. Now I'll feed it down inside the car and run it along the headliner to the center pillar, and then straight down this driver's side pillar. So I'll run it across right here inside the car and run it straight down this pillar underneath the seat, and then up underneath the console to the stereo.
Just because there's water there doesn't matter. It's nice and smooth. That was a great shot.
You're close. I got this at Harbor Freight. Pretty cool. Little sanding thing. What do they call it? Band file belt sander. Pretty cheap. I think it was like 30 bucks. Came with a 60 grit, but I got some 80 grit strips. 60 grit seems to cut through it pretty good. But what we need to do is we got to go through these little spot welds right there, on both sides, and there's one underneath on that tab, I think one or two, and then this whole section should pop off, and then we'll sand it down and rust proof it, and then take the one off of that car since it's completely rusted out underneath that bumper. All right, so here is a little, give you an idea. So you locate those welds and you go in from the inside. That's why you need this thing. It gets in there pretty far. You can see I got it all the way in the back there. And then you basically just sand through it until you start seeing the welds around the edges like that. And that's when you know you've cut through this piece and you're cutting through the weld with the sandpaper. Once you see the full circle all the way around, it'll start to separate. You can see it a little bit better on this side. It'll start to separate around the weld. And once you complete those circles, that just basically says that you've gone all the way around the weld. And then you can pry on it and it'll pop out. And it is taking a little bit of time to get through those welds with the 80 grit. So I'm not going to time lapse all the way through the other side. I'll go ahead and do it. I think I might run to the store and get some more 40 grit. Hopefully they have them. Get some more quality, something like a DeWalt or Milwaukee 40 grit. And then that should speed up the process a little bit because it just needs to cut through the metal on the inside. We're not going to use it again. So the faster the better. All right, I'll check back in once we get it off. All right, I cleaned up a little bit and I realized after cutting through this a little bit that these had screws on them. So I looked on the back of the other car and these are still kind of okay. On the other one, I'll try to salvage them. If not, it'll be a lot easier to get these off now that I've got them 2/3 of the way there. But everything's good right here on the other car, so we'll just see if we can't just send it with just the bolts. Got the hitch off. That's in the garage. And then next we're gonna work on, I took the spoiler off. We'll paint that whenever we paint we'll repaint this, because this one has some jacked up mounts. It's just temporarily epoxied together. And I'm not sure about this camera mount. I might have to move that. I was thinking I might maybe put it up in here somewhere. I don't know. We'll have to toy around with it. But anyways, yeah, I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to bust in here. I'll take off the door panel on the red car, see how difficult it is, and pop out the, oh, this one's tinted. It's just the back windows. For some reason, I thought one of these was missing tint. Oh, maybe it's the replacement door. Might just need to pop this one out because this one's got some dents on it. Either that or I might just try to body fill that. A couple little wrinkles right there. Maybe body fill that and then sand it down. A little dent right here. I don't know, we'll see. But I have a black door that doesn't have the pinstripes on it on the other side of the house, and I think that's the one that doesn't have a tinted window. So I'd have to bring that one in, take it apart, pull the glass out of it, swap the glass, and then put that one in. I'll probably use the door panels for this because it's been sitting outside for a while. I just need the outer panel and the frame. But yeah, I guess next step would be I'm going to swap out that seat. We can swap out the cover to the center console because the other one's a leather SRT cover. A couple just little things here and there. So now that we got that off, I guess the next big thing is just take the rear bumper off and see if we can't swap out that crash bar. Okay, so we got the bumper off. I took the hitch off, brought the replacement door around. Yesterday, it is the next day, I sanded these down, primed them, and then repainted them because I had a lot of pitting in the paint. The paint is not the best. It didn't really cure very well. Could probably use another coat, but I don't really have any, and I'm looking for replacements for these anyways, so just as long as they don't have any runs. They look pretty good though in comparison to what they used to. It matches a lot better being painted gloss than it did with those old faded ones. So this is what it looks like now, and I'll show you the other side. I haven't snapped this one on yet, but that looks a lot better than this is how they used to look. The broken rubber. This one I replaced. So I tried to salvage the good rubber. And we'll snap this one on. You just put your inserts back in, and those little tabs on the side line up with those grooves. And then they just tuck in under. And snap into place. Try to get this one in. If you get this one in like that. There. And then I've just been kind of polishing it as I go with this rag. See, this one, you can still see some of the imperfections in the paint, but it was like runs all down the side. It all looked like that. So I sanded it all down yesterday, tried to get the paint off of it, and then primed them. And it looks a little bit better, but not perfect. It'll look better whenever I actually sand the whole car down, prime the whole thing, and then paint it like with some legitimate paint and clear coat versus a rattle can. So yeah, I think the next step here is going to be, now that the moldings are done, I'll probably pop off the rear bumper, and we'll sand this down, try to get as much rust off of it as we can, and then rust proof the rear section, bolt this on, and then rust proof it again so that it's all rust proofed underneath. We'll put the hitch on for rear stabilization, if anything. I'll never use it, but it's good cross stabilization, and it's a cool little accessory. And then actually I think you could actually mount like a parachute thing if you wanted to drag race in that, which is probably why my brother put it on there, but I don't know. Either way, I won't be needing a parachute, but kind of semi pleased with the way this turned out. Looks a lot better than it did. Just trying to polish a turd at this point until I actually get some good paint. We're going to replace that door. I got to take this one apart and swap the glass. Okay, we've moved on to the door. Got that one partially taken apart. This one, they really don't want you to get these doors apart. So you have to pop this panel off. It's on retainers all the way around, but only after you take this screw out. Pop that off. There's a 10 mil back here. There's a screw in here, 10 mil down here, 10 mil here. 2 of the screws for the 6x9 go into the door. And I think I may have got it loose. I just don't want to break anything, but I feel like this section is kind of held on by something inside. I don't know what this piece is doing. I'm gonna have to get my light and do a little bit of inspection before I go jerking on the door, but basically it just lifts up. It comes unhooked. You should be able to pull it off and unhook the door handles. You know the really frustrating thing about being rushed? When you think you're putting something together correctly, And then you get all the way to the end and realize you forgot something that makes you go all the way back to the fucking beginning. God damn, it's annoying. Now I gotta pop this whole thing off again, unhook the door, pop it, lift it off, put the sill in, and then freaking put the whole thing back together again. F them out. Okay, end of the day, Sunday. We got the door back together. Didn't have to like take it completely off. Was able to just take the inner bolts out and pop the top off and slide it down in there. So it's back together. I put an upgraded speaker in there. Had some old Boss like 6x9 Boss Phantoms or something like that. These things that I've had in my garage for like 10 years. They're pretty good construction, far better than the ones that were in there. So that'll be it for the weekend until we have more time. Got to put it at a stopping point. So we will reconvene the next time we'll get back at it the next time I have time. All right, it's a couple days later. Got a little bit of time. I might be able to work on the car. So I'll show you how far we got last time we were working on it. So we got the door replaced. There's no more big dents in the side here. I was able to take out, as you saw, the windows. We replaced the speaker. Everything works. I glued that in there. That's helpful. We got the top things painted and installed. I took it for a drive the other night and it's still super jerky. So on the forum that I'm on, I was able to order these. I don't know if Ryan Kelly is a subscriber, but we got solid mounts. They seem synthetic somewhat, super hard. So these cap on the side of the engine mounts. So I'm thinking, since it shudders so bad and like gets really jerky coming out from a dead stop, unless you just rev on it and set the engine, I'm pretty sure the engine's just shaking a lot in the engine mounts. So what I want to do, since we got to fix this headlight, should just start a checklist. We got to fix the headlight short, and in order to do that, we got to pull off the front bumper. So I'm thinking I'm going to pull the front end apart again. We'll take out the reservoir and the air box and see if we can't get access and kind of create a plan of attack for these engine mounts. We got to take out the battery and the battery box plate. So basically remove everything from around the side of the engine again. So in order to not only, I got to top off the transmission fluid because it doesn't want to go into first gear or reverse very well. So I think it's a little low on fluid. So there's a couple things that need to happen that justify taking everything out from around the engine again. So we might as well just go ahead and disassemble that, get everything out of the way, do the engine mounts, top off the transmission fluid, and fix the headlight all in the same thing. And then we put it back together, and hopefully it won't shudder anymore. It'll go into gear and the headlight won't have a short in it. So I guess let's go ahead and take off the front bumper first and then start removing stuff from around the engine. We got to take out the battery plate, the intake filter and box, and then the engine coolant reservoir. Oh, and while we're in there, again, with the checklist, we got to replace the tensioner or the little idler pulley because it's squealing, and I'm going to go get a new serpentine belt. So all kinds of stuff for justifying removing stuff from around the engine. So let's get to work on that. Okay, update. I put it on jack stands, pulled the front tires off, and let me shed a little light on this situation. So in the previous videos, there's a drain plug down here that is the exact same is this Allen plug right here. This is actually the fill. There's a rubber one above it. You're not supposed to fill from that. I don't even think you're supposed to take it out. So this is your fill plug. This is your drain plug down here. Looks exactly like that. And I took a funnel and put some fluid in it. It says ATF4 you're supposed to use. I used some red line, so there's a little bit of red line with some ATF4 in there. I don't think it'll make a big difference, but it's primarily red line micro synchro mesh in the transmission. So I filled it up to where it was draining out of that and then let it drain. They say 2.8 liters, so, or quarts, or I think it's 2.8 liters from what I read. Actually, no, it's quarts. It's about 3 quarts. So I just filled it up till it was leaking out of that and then let it drain till it stopped and then put the thing back in it. I'm also going to try to get my wife to help me bleed the clutch a little bit, because I looked in the reservoir up here and it's a little dirty. So it could use, and it's a little low. Actually, no, it's not, but that is a little dirty. So I think I might have her help me by just pushing in the clutch. We'll bleed it a couple times, and then hopefully that'll fix the gearing issue. But if you're not a part of it yet, you should. If you like these videos, you should go onto Facebook and join CSRT-4 Caliber SRT-4 Friends Helping Friends. It's a Facebook group. There's a ton of files on there. That's how I learned about the plugs. They've got headlight access, replacement headlights, tuners on there that if you wanted to get your car tuned. So it's just a good information source. Next, I'm going to take the jack and support the transmission on this side, and then take off these 3 bolts around the outside of that mount and try to put in those mount supports. So I'll set you guys up on a jack stand for that, and then we'll support the transmission, take the weight off of this mount, pop out the bolts, and try to put the mount stabilizers in there that we got from Ryan Kelly. You can also go on modernperformance.com and get these, and they have a schematic of which ones are supposed to go where. So yeah, I'll put you on the tripod and we'll get to work on that. All right, it took a little wrestling, but take these 3 bolts out, and then this one. Actually loosen this one up before you take these 3 out. You can break them loose and then take this one out and then remove those and take the case off. Put the mount on. I used a little bit of PB Blaster to encourage it a little bit. These on the website, you have a long one, and then see if I can get it to sit, and then you have a short one, and they make up together the width of the engine mount. They meet in the middle like that, just like that. But once you have them situated, you got to finesse that little clamp on, keep it loose, and then I used a hole punch, or a little punch. Once I got the hole semi lined up, I was able to put this through and wiggle it through to straighten the hole up enough to slide the bolt through. And then we got the bolt through on the other side. We'll crank it down, and then we will tighten the bolts around the outside, and then that motor mount will be done. Then I think I'll leave all that out for right now. I'm gonna clean a little bit in here, some of the stuff I missed whenever I did the engine swap. And I'm a little bit torn as to whether or not I want to put that box back in. I probably will, just to cover up the cables and shit. It looks a little cleaner with it in there. But we'll move on to this side. Once we get this one done, then those two braces will be in place, and we can just drop the crossbar off the middle and slide it out here and have a lot more room to work on that one. And that one should hopefully go quick, knock on wood. Before I put this back in, I am going to bleed the clutch, which I believe is right here. Clutch master cylinders right there. So you just put a hose on top of that with a reservoir. And then it turns and opens to relieve pressure. So we'll bleed that a couple times and try to get all of this nasty brake fluid out and replace it with some new and get some more pressure in the clutch. So that, with a little bit of top off from the transmission fluid, should fix the gear issue. Fingers crossed. So let's keep working on this. We'll get this one buttoned up and move on to the one on the passenger side. All right, we are back out. It is the next day. I came out with a fresh mind and was able to finesse it in there. What I did was I took the mounts, and then when I took this mount off, I just used the bolt and slid it through, put some WD-40 on it, and then put the bolt on the back and pressed it together without the actual mount in there, just the bolt and the mounts on the outside. And it trained it a little bit overnight so that it was easier to work with. And then came out this morning. I did have to take this mount and put it in the clamp and open it up a little bit because I noticed it was bent, which is restricting the tolerance to go over top. That helped a lot. I just brought it out just a little bit, put it in the clamp, and then grabbed it like this and pulled out on it a little bit just to open it up a little. And I was able to slide it down on there, still really snug. I slid it down like this, tapped it down, and then folded it down in. But before I pushed it over, I just slid it down until I could get my punch through there, slid the punch in, tapped it down a little bit, and then straightened it out to where I could get the bolt through. And then once I had the bolt all the way through, I tapped this way to get the mount to set, It was a little crooked to line up on the holes and for those bolts across there. So I did have to jack up the engine a little and then turn the jack, just rolled it side to side until it caught, and then I was able to get the middle bolt down in. Once I had the middle bolt in there, tightened that one up, or got it threaded, and then threaded the other two, and then sent them all down in, tightened them up, and then came back and put the bolt on the other side of this one. So I should be able to just bring the car down, and the mounts on the driver and the passenger side are now in. So I can remove this, and I need to get the crossbar mount across the bottom off. So I'm gonna have to move all of this. It's just 4 bolts. It goes this way, 2 in the back, 2 in the front, and the whole bar comes off. So I'll take that off. I gotta lay on the ground, get underneath there. So rather than try to set the camera up that low, I'll just get it off of there and pull it out, and we'll put the mounts on and reinstall it. Let's look. I made a little checklist. So we got the mounts are almost done. Trans fluid, we did that. We still got to do one more mount. I'll pull the front bumper off, but before I do the front bumper, I think I'll do the serpentine belt and the idler pulley. That way I only have to pull the bumper off and dick with the headlamp. And then I should be done, aside from, oh, you know what? I need to put clutch bleed on there before I put it back together. See, checklists definitely help. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and jump under there, get that crossbar, the engine cradle mount off. All right, so this one proved to be a little bit easier. You slide the end caps on, take these two, I think these are 5/8, or no, these two 15s, loosen that 18 back there, and then take the 5/8 out from the middle, that little 5/8 bolt right there. It's threaded on the other side of the mount. So I'll just hit this on the sides with a little WD-40 so it'll slide up in there. These fit perfectly around the mounts, unlike the other ones. Had to wrestle with the other ones, but this one slid right in. So I should be able to just slide it right up into place and put the bolt through, and it'll be in. So we'll go ahead and finish this one up. Only took about 1 minute. Okay, I pulled the idler pulley and the AC pulley, greased the bearings, checked them for tolerance. I did see down here, I don't know if I can get you in there, but on this one, right here, there was a little rub. So I'm thinking that's where the squeal was coming from. So I pulled that. That is the tension idler pulley. Pulled that off. Made sure that it wasn't ragged out. Put a little grease around it. Cleaned it off. Put it back on. Torqued it down. Put the different belt from the other engine on there. The other belt had a little bit of, looked like a little bit of debris or something. It's a little greasy inside the groove. So I pulled that off, swapped it out. Both of them seemed to be in decent shape, no cracking or dry rotting. So pretty sure it was that pulley making the squeal, hopefully. Mounts are in. Transmission fluid is checked. Let's look at the checklist. Idler pulley, check. Serpentine, check. Mounts, check. Trans fluid, check. So we just got to do the headlamp and the clutch bleed. All right, next up, we are going to bleed the clutch. This should be the last thing before I can put this thing back together and test it. I have my lovely assistant coming out to help me in a second. So once she gets out here, we'll start it. Let me set you up on the tripod. Go ahead and hit it like 5 times. And then get the right wrench. Okay, hold it in. All right, hold. All right, that should be good. Thank you. All right, we got the clutch bled. Thank you to my lovely assistant who did not want to be on camera, it didn't seem like. So we ran through 3 or 4 cycles. And here, I'll show you what I got. A little bit dirty there. Not too bad. But you can see it's sealed, so this is a little home rig. As long as the bottom of the hose is submerged before you start, whenever you let the pressure out, it just pushes the air through that tube up through the bottom and then bubbles out inside the container. And you can tell it's sealed because the air that was in there was trapped inside that bottle, and whenever I unhooked it, it pushed a little bit out of the top. So kind of a cool little rig my buddy Matt showed me how to make. But anyways, seemed to work. On to the next. Only thing we have left on the checklist is the headlamp. That's where we're gonna have to cut it off today. Looks like the bulbs that were left in the car don't work. Tested them out, plugged both ballasts in, and the high beams work, but the low beams don't. So they're junk. Don't want to have to take this front end off again. So I'm going to order some, and then I will resume this whenever I get those. Then we can put the bumper back on and we'll be all set.
Oh yeah, bro. Got some jerk.
All right, guys, I got you on a window mount. I'm not sure how well it's gonna hold, but just took it for a test drive and it seemed to go okay. So I'm gonna take you guys along with me this time before we wash it off and then clean up the orange car. Those motor mounts put all of the engine vibration inside the cab on the dash, so you're gonna hear some vibrating until we get going. But let's go. First official drive. It was successful. Solid motor mounts really help with control. And you kind of got to stay in the throttle, otherwise it wants to juke back and forth. Very high strung with the cams and the pistons and the crank. longest I've got to drive it so far. Bleeding the clutch definitely helped. Driven a car with more blind spots though. These things you can't really see out very well at all. Alright, we're just gonna let the turbo cool down a little bit. Wait till it gets back down to about 150, 160. It was pushing 200 when I pulled in. And then I got this little thing mounted. It had some adhesive on it, which makes it kind of stick to the window way too good. So I'm gonna have to probably clean that off. But yeah, I think we're good to go ahead and start driving this car around a little bit more. So I think the next motion is gonna be to take all the parts that I think I might need off of the orange car, which is not many, probably just some interior touch-up stuff, and then get rid of that thing, get it out of the driveway. Looks like we're down to temp. We've let the oil cycle out of the turbo, so we're good to shut it off now and let it cool down. Do another once over on the engine bay, and then I got to get some parts off of that and then go get my kid from basketball and take him to lacrosse. So not much time today or this weekend at all. So hopefully we'll get something posted soon. All right, same afternoon, got the center console swapped out. This one has a leather top, and installed the power outlet. It was just a jumper harness underneath, so that was pretty good. Plus I got to take it out and clean it. Then we repositioned. Let's see if I can flip it around here. Reinstalled the stage 1 badge that was right here before. Obviously it won't fit with the new screen, so put some new tape on it and then put it on the dash. Swapped out the box cover that's signed by Ralph Gills, the designer of this car. So now we have all the badging and the custom centerpiece and the clean interior. I think the next step is I'm going to finish vacuuming out and clean the carpet on this side. We'll clean the steering wheel column piece, and then put the steering wheel column in with the digital programmer, the stage 1 digital pod right on top, so we can catch our diagnostics too while we're driving. So that'll be the next step. So we'll finish this up and then finish cleaning the inside of the car, and then the interior should be done. Also got to clean up the headliner a little bit. It's a little bit dirty. That's not from me, that's from the previous owner. But all in all, we are pretty much ready to have the official send-off of the donor car. I got the shifter cable out of the other one. We're going to keep the short shifter because this one's kind of weathered. And then we'll see if we can't check out on a forum. I think there's a way that you can create a short shifter for these to drop that down a little bit, but these are actually fixed shifter heads, so you can't swap them out unless you snap it off, and then there's no threads. So have to do a little research on how to swap this out and create a short shifter out of the other one. But until then, we had a good test drive today and got the cell phone mount up there so we can have the phone up here out of the line of sight, and also have a clear view of the camera so we can record while we're driving if we need to. And then I think, yeah, just a couple little odds and ends to go through to get out of that thing, and then we should be able to get rid of it. I think the day that I do get rid of it, I'm going to pull the hatch off of it. I'm going to save the hood and the front bumper, and we'll just sell the shell to the junkyard, because when we repaint this, there's rust on this hatch. I'll show you. There's some rust on this hatch that is not apparent on this one. So this one's clean, and this one's got some rust starting down the edge. That's so minimal, depending on the extent of it. I might actually be able to just repair that. Yeah, we'll probably just be able to sand that out and touch it up, maybe. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Still got to pull the rear bumper off, so, and swap it out. And then we're not taking the rocker panels off this, because I'd probably ruin them getting them off with my experience. So there's a kit. It's like $280 for the inner and the outer. Comes with this piece and the outer piece. So we'll probably just get that kit and cross that bridge before we're ready to paint this. But yeah, ultimately, I think we are pretty damn well good to go. Put some miles on it today. Rolled it over 118K on the odometer, and seems to be happy. So that's where we'll stop today. All right, guys. This video has gone on way too long. I have been recording for 3 months, not had the motivation to edit or upload. I've just kept going. We got tons of shit done to the car. It's drivable now. It's boosting. It feels semi-controllable. There are a few little odds and ends here and there, but for the most part, all the mechanical work is done, and I can drive it if I want to without feeling like I was going to lose control or lose a freaking bumper. There's a few more segments I'm gonna record on this car. One is the rear bumper mount support. We never got to that. And then 2, I am going to replace the rocker panels. I'm going to move on to something else for the channel before we actually do that. So we're going to have to circle back on that. But I hope you liked the video. Congratulations if you made it all the way to the end. And just keep watching if you're an SRT fan. You know, this car's not going anywhere. So just keep looking at the channel, and you know, when I post shorts, like them, subscribe. Make sure you tell your friends in any forums that you have. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers. I'd love to be able to make something out of this channel. That would be really cool. But this video is dedicated to my brother who passed away last year. It was his project, and I'm happy to have actually seen it come to fruition and be able to drive it again. So rest in peace, bro. Everybody else, make sure that you like, subscribe, tell your friends. Until next time, peace.